Namaste, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Hari Om. On behalf of Param Vedanta, a warm welcome to all our listeners. We continue with the text Atma Bodha, a work by Bhagavad Pada Adi Shankaracharya. We are in the final parts of the text where the Guru once again shares the nature of Brahman and the glory of Atmanyanam. These verses drive home the message Brahman is Advayam, knowing which nothing worthy remains to be known. Dr. Hegde will be moderating this session. Each week, he has been covering one topic of Tattva Bodha, an introductory text to Vedanta by Adi Shankaracharya. Today's topic is Jiva Ishwara Aikyam. We welcome our speakers of the day, Dr. Anupama, Srimati Chetana, and Srimati Smita Pai. But first, Dr. Satyanarayana will be giving us last week's recap. Over to you, Doctor.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. We have known in previous verses and in last class about Jivan Mukta and Videha Mukta. Jivan Mukta is one who is free from bonds of Anatma, not disturbed with world around him, gives up body, mind, sense identification. When the prarabdha is exhausted, the physical body cannot survive, and on shedding this mortal body, he gains Videha Mukti. So before enlightenment, he is identified with body, mind, senses, and after enlightenment, there is disidentity with the body, mind, senses. So identification shifts from limited body, mind, senses to limitless consciousness. Coming on to verses 52 to 55 discussed in last class. This particular verse 52 says, reflecting is relieving. So relieve yourself from attachment or expectations. A Muni is a perfect man who has renounced his attachment to conditioning or upadhis. Next slide. Being close to conditioning, you assume the limitations of that conditioning. Someone who thinks, one who is perpetually reflecting, is like space, free of limitations. The contemplative one, though he lives in the conditioning, has learned to live constantly balanced. Though he may be outwardly seem like appearance of a fool in their own world, unconcerned with anything, he moves around free, completely unattached. This contemplative man is free, unstoppable, and flows like a wind. They are the most powerful and impactful like the wind. So as space, as a fool, and as wind, the contemplative ones remain unattached. Coming on to the verse 53, which speaks about surrendering makes one stronger. This verse describes how the enlightened ones see the oneness everywhere. Whenever we are relieved of upadhis or conditioning, all that remains is Vishnu. Here, relieving indicates withdrawing one's identification. This merely indicates functional destruction. Upon attainment of the complete realization of true nature of one's own self, a person becomes a Jivan Mukta. The Jivan Mukta does not have any ego and realizes that he is one with the supreme goal. Next slide. Just like water going into water and space going into space, when one attains enlightenment, there is no separation, there is no ego, only oneness. We never take anything said by anyone personally when there is oneness. Like light merging into light, so does enlightened person sees oneness. Here we have to imagine there is a pot submerged in a well. So the pot is submerged in water. Water is there both inside the pot and outside the pot. We can say pot water for water inside the pot and well water for the water outside. Now suppose the pot is broken. We use the expression the pot water merging into well water. But we know that there is no question of merging because there is only well water all around. So finite quantity of water mixing with infinite mass of water, like water into water, light into light, space into space. When the conditionings are dissolved and the thinker is assimilated into a larger entity, the thinker comes to experience an inner bliss with perfect clarity. On the dissolution of upadhis, the contemplative one is totally absorbed into all-pervading attributeless spirit. So in this 53rd shloka, Acharya has talked about Videha Mukti, which is nothing but merger of Jivatma with Brahman. When the conditioning equipment, that is upadhis, are gone because of prarabdha kshaya, from 54th verse, we see the explanation of Brahma Swarupam. Vedanta is a unique field where person finds fullness emotionally and intellectually at all levels. Verse 54, next slide, we need to refresh our knowledge about Purusharthas. Purusharthas are of, can be divided into Dharma, Artha, Kama as one entity and Moksha as the other. Dharma, Artha, Kama all come together because they arrive and they depart. They are inferior. They do not give permanent peace, security, and happiness. They are fake or pseudo, and that is mithya. But Moksha Mahima is the greatest and is the only Purushartha, is what we need to remember. So this verse talks about that pursuit has an end. This verse signifies the Jnana Mahima or Moksha Mahima. In this shloka, Acharya Shankara further describes how content the enlightened one is. Next slide. When one gains independent joy, there is no other gain. Vairagya can also be described as passion for giving. This means you have nothing to gain and nothing to lose, hence are fearless. When someone has experienced this sukham, there is no other sukham. The best space within us, and people live in content way and not contextual way. When one knows who they are more, there is no more to be known. They know all. All curiosity comes to completion. This is Brahman and is to be realized and felt. Acharya Shankara is asking us what it is that we are doing. There is nothing else to be done other than dedicating our lives to this part. All our curiosity comes to completion. No happiness is higher than attainment of independent joy, but which is possible only with complete identification with Brahman. Next slide. Realize that state to be Brahman, attainment of which leaves nothing more to be attained, nothing more to be known. They are in the state of complete Vairagya. When there is nothing to gain, there is nothing to lose. Only person who is not perceiving peace is a peaceful person. There can be two interpretations out of this. Other than Brahma Jnanam, there is no other superior Jnanam. Other than Brahma Jnanam, there is no other Jnanam at all. Moving on to the last verse, 55, which talks about making the truth the truth. This verse continues to describe the state of a Gnani, the one who has reached the state of tranquility, peace, and perfection. Having seen this, there is nothing else to be seen or achieved in life. When you have seen all, you stop feeling insecure. When one is being, they stop becoming. Once you know the truth, the non-truth does not hold our interest. All our experiences in life have not completed us. Shankaracharya is prodding us and asking, what is it that we are doing? Once you know Brahman to be themselves, that is completeness. So we need to get back to the knowledge of differences. Next slide. Between the pot and the clay. A pot is seemingly existent. It is universe or panchabhutas or the bodies and minds. So it is mithya and has nama rupa. It is non-substantial, not worth counting. Whereas clay is alone that exists. Clay is actually the Brahman. Clay is actually the Satyam and is the only substance. So that way, Brahman is all. Conclusion. Next slide. No, I am already full, complete Brahman. Human struggle ends in self-discovery. I was, I am, and I will be Brahman or Aham Brahmasmi. Having become Brahman, there is nothing more in life to become. It is superior most. To become Brahman is the only goal in life. Hari Om.
Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om. Dear friends, we come to the climax of Tattva Bodha today, which is the climax of the Bhagavad Gita, the climax of all the Upanishads, and all Prakarana Granthas. In fact, Tattva Bodha is also a Prakarana Grantha. The topic today is Jivatma Paramatma Aikyam. Absolutely unbelievable, which means I am already that which I can possibly be. That means my true nature is that of the divine. The invocation for Tattva Bodha as follows. Vasudevendra Yogendram Natva Jnanam Pradam Gurum Mumukshu Nam Hitarthaya Tattva Bodho Vidiyate. What is this inquiry into the truth? What have we been doing through Tattva Bodha all along? It says Tattva Viveka Kaha. What is the essence or what is the truth of my nature? Extremely difficult to believe, but this is what it says. Atma Satyam Tad Anyat Sarvam Mityeti. That means I am the only reality. Other than me, everything else is unreal. Now let us try to understand what it means by I am the only reality. Everything else is unreal. By I means the Atma or the real self. And this has to be attained through a process of negation. By negation, we have that very famous Nidityasanam shloka. To attain to the real I, the real truth is Mano Buddhi Hankara Chittani Naha. That means we have to be very familiar with the process to say, what I am not. Begins with the first step in Vedanta is the firm and convinced belief that I am someone other than the body. Normally, I am convinced that I am a body, I am a man, I am of a particular age, I am located here, this is my profession. About this, I am absolutely convinced. And because of this conviction, I have a certain identity and I have a certain role in this world. Now, this fundamental truth of my understanding is taken away from me when now I firmly believe I am someone other than my body. In Tattva Bodha, I have studied I'm not just this gross body, I'm the subtle body, which is my mind, and the causal body, which is the seed of the gross in the subtle body. I am none of these Panchakosha. Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha, Anandamaya Kosha. None of this. I'm not the waker, the dreamer, or the deep sleeper. Then if I am not none of all these, then what am I? Chidananda Rupaha Shivoham Shivoha. I am of the nature of Shivaha. I am indeed auspicious. How do I arrive at this? And this, the whole process is called Atma, Anatma, Viveka, also called Drik Drishya Viveka, Kshetra Kshetrajna Viveka, Purusha Prakriti Viveka. And this goes through this process of, in the Bhagavad Gita, 13th chapter, Kshetram Kshetrajna Bhaga Viveka. That means whatever I see and experience, I am not that. So this is the fundamental law of Vedanta brought to us by Swamiji early in our understanding. Whatever I see and experience, I can experience my body, I am not my body. I can experience my mind, I'm trying to explain some of the fundamentals of Vedanta, I am not my body. Now this is the first step. If this fundamental is ingrained and it is part of my DNA, then Vedanta becomes possible for me. Second, and this is the climax. So you have the alpha and the omega. In this fundamental, you have the beginning and the end. If the beginning and the end of the Vedanta is there with me, I have everything. In this one slide, I have all that I need to know about Vedanta. The first alpha is I am not this body. That means all the three bodies. I'm not the body, I'm not my mind. Because I experience my body, I experience my mind. The second is all attributes belong to the object of experience. I, the subject as Atma, I am Nirguna. Swamiji calls this mind-boggling. Mind-boggling means immediately I realize I'm not ordinary. I think or have been conditioned to believe I'm ordinary. I have no birth, I have no death. I'm there from the very beginning because there is no time. I will be there till the very end if there is end. That means I am beyond time. I am Nityaha, Shuddhaha, Buddhaha, Muktaha. I have no gunas. All the gunas belong to my body. I have none of the three gunas. My body has a location. I have no location. Why? I am all pervading. I am infinite. I am not bound by time. I am not bound by space. I am eternal, infinite. And that is what we call Shivoham, Shivoham, Shiva Swarupa. For the time being, I have to understand I am a mixture. I am a mixture of the body and mind. The body-mind is a changing and a finite principle. As Atma, I am consciousness, I am infinite. It does not undergo any change whatsoever. One exercise I need to do all the time is to look into myself. What is in me that is always changing? What in me is that which never changes? I always give this exercise of looking at your own photograph when you're a little boy or a little girl. And if you look at your body, you will see your body has changed, your minds have changed, your thoughts have changed. But there is something which you will say, it is me, which has never changed. That which is not me, anatma, is constantly undergoing change. The real me has experienced or has gone or interacted through or used so many bodies in this life itself. Bodies come and go, but the indweller, the embodied, is always there. Why is this knowledge important? Because only for one reason. All our suffering is based on ignorance of this fact. As long as I do not know I am Atma, Brahma, I have suffering. This comes in the Bhagavad Gita. Ajnanena avritam jnanam tena muhyanti jantavaha. Shri Krishna, the Bhagavad Gita clearly says there is only one reason why we go through all suffering. We do not know our true nature. Our true nature is not this body-mind. As long as I identify with my body-mind, there is no permanent solution to any of my problems. The moment I realize I am Atma, Brahma, and the more I am established in the truth, suffering can disappear at once. So all our exercise is Kshetra, Kshetrajna, Vibhaga, Viveka. That means I need to be able to say this body mind is only an instrument of transaction. It is there for the time being. It is there during my waking and the dream state. And as body mind, let us remember always there is no permanent solution to any problem. I solve one problem today, I have another problem and another problem. But as Atma, I have no problem. All I need to do is constantly remember my true nature and play my limited role as if it is a drama day in and day out. There is this Viveka. Now, if you understand this, we will realize that we are, from the time of birth, we are already 66% enlightened. See, whenever you say, I am, we all know I am. I means consciousness, am means existence. About that, we have no doubt. To know anything else, we need to look around, see, and realize. But to say, I am, we have no problem. So whenever you say am, that means you say I am existent. That means you are 33% realized. When you say am, that means you are conscious. So to say I am, which we all know, we have 66% pass as far as enlightenment is concerned. But what we do not know is I am Ananta or Atma. Through Guru and Shastra, we understand I am Ananta. I am Sat Chit. Sat and Chit we all know. But I do not know I am Sat Chit Ananta or Sat Chit Ananda. Tattva Bodha, Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads are for this last part to help us to discover I am Atma Brahma. So what is this chapter of Tattva Bodha telling us? Jivatma, or the essence of mind, and Paramatma are one and the same. The truth of myself is divine, or Atma. The truth of God is also Atma. Just like the essence of the wave is water, the essence of the ocean is also water. And this is the essence of all the scriptures of Vedanta, whether it is the Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads, or any of the Prakarana Granthas. The Bhagavad Gita and the Upanishads say, this is the highest human accomplishment. Swamiji repeats this again and again. True greatness is one who knows and who lives the Mahavakyams and not any worldly accomplishment. According to Vedanta, a person can be called wise or a jnani when he knows that Jivatma and Paramatma are essentially one and the same. Our nature is Atma. I am Atma, Brahma, and to be able to claim I am Atma, Brahma. But this doubt always comes. How can you say that my true nature is that of God? The reasoning is, we come to what is called Vachyartha and Lakshartha, what is called the conventional meaning and for the implied meaning. The Atma experiencing through these three bodies, that is called the Jivatma. The same Atma through the whole or the total or the Prapanchatrayam is called Paramatma. Anatma is body-mind complex, which is of a lower order of reality and which has a dependent reality, and that is why it is called Mithya. All the scriptural statements can be divided into two. They are called Mahavakyas or Avantara Vakya. Any statement which brings about this essential oneness of Jivatma and Paramatma is called the Mahavakya. So all our scriptural statements can be classified as Mahavakyas. All the other statements that lead up to them or help us to understand these Mahavakyas are, everything else are called the Avantara Vakya. Now, there are few Mahavakyas like Prajnana Brahmam, Aham Brahmasmi, Tattvamasi, I am Atma Brahma. But it looks like there are 4 Mahavakyas. These are the 4 sample Mahavakyas from the 4 Vedas. But then, there are hundreds and thousands of Mahavakyas. And whenever in the Bhagavad Gita or the Upanishads we come across, our teachers highlight and help each of them to use these Mahavakyas for meditation to be able to tell us repeatedly, I am that. So what are the sadhanas that we need to go through? The sadhana that we need to go through is through Shraddha, to believe this unbelievable statement that what my Guru is saying, what the Shastra is saying is true, that I am Brahman in essence. Doubts will come. How is it possible? Through repeated Shravanam, or through interaction with my colleagues, or through questioning the Acharya, my doubts have to be clarified. Only when the doubts are able to be clarified, there comes a point when we are certain that I am Brahman. However, our past experiences of a limited Jivatma are so powerful that when it comes to transactions, we forget our true nature and we go back. And that is why we constantly need to be in satsangatve nisangatvam. The more we are in this teaching, nisangatve nirmohatvam, nirmohatve nischala tattve jivan mukti. The more we are in satsang, the more we are in touch with people who are convinced that this is not just a fad, a statement, but it is my real truth, then it becomes possible that this statement, this is the essence of all Vedanta, this is the essence of Tattva Bodha, the essence of the Gita is Brahma Satyam or Aham Satyam. Whatever I experience including the body and mind, is Mithya, and my real nature and the real nature of Paramatma are one and the same. I have got this message. What I need to do is spend the rest of my life in being absolutely convinced that I am Atma, Brahma. This Mahavakya has to be internalized. So after being in touch with the Guru for a certain period of time, this teaching now has become aparoksha jnana. It is not paroksha jnanam to say there is Brahma asti. It has become aparoksha. It has become Brahma asmi. But through nidityasanam, through satsanga, I need to be able to be constant about this factor, that even in the most difficult moments of my life, when I am insulted, when I am hurt, when my body is not well, my mind is going through all these disturbances, I should not forget the truth. I am Atma Brahma. Then what happens? I experience a state of what is called a Jivan Mukta. I am tethered to this body, and this body has got a lot of physical limitations. I'm tethered to this mind, and this mind is going through various ups and downs. I go through various family situations, very financial situations, but I know that my status is independent of whatever happens to my family, to my money status, or my professional status. I'm independent of whatever happens. There is a certain purnatvam. Atman evatmana tushtaha. I know that nobody or no situation can make me more richer than what I am. Prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogata. Because Atman evatmana tushtaha. Finally, equanimity. That the greatest tragedy that happens around me cannot affect me. I develop such an amount of mental toughness because now I am convinced that I am not the body, I am not the mind. Whatever happens to the body and mind happens to the body and mind. It cannot affect me. This is called Jivan Muktihi while we are living. Remember, this is purely mental. Just because it is mental and it is not physical does not mean it is not real. My body requires food, my body requires shelter, my body requires clothing. Do whatever it required. We cannot get physical independence. But Jivan Mukti means all those emotional ramifications that happen whenever I go through difficulty and all those unhealthy mental responses, I do not entertain because I am not that. Even though my mind is going through various ups and downs, these three things, that sense of independence of my bodily limitations or my mental limitations. Why? because I am Purnaha. I am Atman Evatmana Tushtaha, and I cannot be affected by any form of adversities. Now, this is as far as the Jivan Mukti. Now, is there something really physical? The physical part comes when this body drops. When this body drops, when the Jivan Mukta leaves the body, the person has no more karma left. And when there is no more karma left, there is no sanchita karma, there is no agami karma, and prarabdha is exhausted. There is no chance of rebirth. Remember these few things. As body mind, there is no complete solution to any problem. As Atma, there is no problem whatsoever. Now, how do I reconcile this? Now, I am a mixture of both body, mind, and Atma. Now, remember, and Swamiji makes this great statement, there is no corridor that connects the finite to the infinite. The mortal body and the mortal mind can never become immortal. Whatever sadhana that I do, whatever blessings that I may get, the blessings are to my body and mind. I am already that as Atma. It is only a mental disidentification from the body mind to I am Atma Brahman. We have studied Tripti Deepa. And then Tripti Deepa is all about one statement. Atmanam ched vijaniyat ayam asmiti purusha kimichan kasya kamaya shariram anuswam jwaret. Atmanam ched vijaniyat ayam asmiti purusha. What does it mean? I am of the nature of eternal and all-pervading consciousness. This should enter into the DNA of every cell of my being. I am of the nature of Shivoham, Shivoham, Shivaswarupa. What does it mean? I am the only source of permanent peace, security, and happiness. Everything else is temporary. But when I want real, permanent peace, security, and happiness, it comes only in me. And the next big jump in this understanding is, because of me, this body is alive, this body is able to function. And because of me, this whole world has come into being. Have no hesitation in being able to declare, my eva sakalam jatam. When you are awake, this world is born. When you are asleep, the world has resolved into you. The world comes into being because of you as consciousness, and the world resolves when you are not there. When you are not there means when the body-mind is not operating. When the body-mind operates, the world comes into being. When the body-mind is not operational, the world ceases to be. The world is of a lower order of reality. Let this be a nishta. This is all what Vedanta says. Why is Jagan Mithya so important? Brahma Satyam alone is enough. Why? There are so many adverse things that are happening around us. All of us are going through various turmoil. Remember this all the time. Anything that happens in the material world or in the physical body cannot really affect me because of I am of a higher order of reality. Just like the dream events cannot really affect me. Whatever sufferings that you go through the dream cannot really affect me as long as you always realize I'm not this limited dream body, which is my own creation. If I forget this, then I land into samsara. The moment I forget it, I land into samsara. The moment I remember this, then life becomes a blessing. Finally, remember a few verses. I'm not going into those details. This is proof of Jivan Mukti, and that is Atma Upammena Sarvatra Samam Pashyati Yorjuna. Your ability to see yourself in everybody. There is nobody who's superior to me, nobody is inferior to me. Nobody is my friend, nobody is my enemy, because everybody is not other than me. Atma Upammena Sarvatra Samam Pashyati. to be able to see everyone as just as yourself. Buddhi yukto jahatiha. When I have this knowledge, I no longer work for punya or papa. Remember, mayeva sakalam jatam. Because of me, this whole world has come into being. Yat gatva na nivartante taddama paramam mama. Once you have understood this, there is no falling back into this relative world. What have you understood? My sarvam idam protam. Sutre, I am immanent and transcendental. Why? Prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogata atman evatmana tushtaha. Let this be our understanding. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Our opening speaker for today to explain verse 56 will be Dr. Anupama. Dr. Anupama, please.
Thank you, sir. Verse 56. It goes like this. Tiryak urdhvam adaha purnam satchid anandam advayam anantam nityam ekam yat tat brahmeti avadharayet. This is a Brahma Lakshana shloka. The point to be contemplated upon is Brahman one of the things in creation? The answer is no. We have to identify with Brahman as Aham Brahma Asmi Aparokshataya. This shloka therefore describes my Lakshanani, me as a complete entity, not needy, but comfortable in this body-mind complex, physically, emotionally, and intellectually. Therefore, as Brahman, I am Purnam, I am limitless. Hence, Tiryak Urdhvam Adaha Purnam. As this physical body-mind complex, I am an embodiment of Apurnatvam. But when I accept the body as an Atma, that is, distinct from me, the Atma, its afflictions do not affect me anymore. I am free from Anujvara. As we have just heard, Dr. quote Panchadashi Tripti Deepa, Atmanam Ched Vijaniyat, Ayam Asmi iti Purushaha, Kim Ichan Kasya Kamaya Shariram Anusanjvaret. As Adi Shankaracharya describes in Manisha Panchakam, Prarabdhaya Samarpitam Swavapuhu Ityesha Manisha Mama. Physical apurnatvam is no longer burdensome when I have the conviction that Prarabdha works on the body and not me, because I am Asanga, I am Purna. Now, being Purna, where am I located? Tiryak Urdhvam Adaha, in all the 8 horizontal directions, above and below. In the Alata Shanti Prakaranam, Karika 65 of Mandukya Upanishad, we have seen this verse, which means, I pervade everything. Charan Jagarite Jagarat Dishuvai Dashastu Stithan, Andajan, whether born of eggs, Svedajan, whether born out of moisture, Udbijan, out of the earth, or Jarayujan, whether one is born from the womb. In the Mundaka Upanishad, we have seen this verse, Brahma eva idam amritam purastat, Brahma paschat, Brahma dakshinat cha uttarena, adascha urdhvam cha prasritam, Brahma eva idam vishvam idam varishtam. This means all this in front is the immortal Brahman alone. Brahman alone is behind. Brahman alone is on the right and on the left. Brahman spreads out below and above also. This world is this exalted Brahman alone, and I am not different from Brahman. Aham Brahma Asmi. So I pervade as Satchit Anandam, the pure existence consciousness. I am the easeness, the very being in every object. I am the consciousness in all. I am the Ananda, the Anantatvam in all. Unexpressed limitlessness is Anantatvam. Expressed limitlessness is Anandam. So I am Advayam and Ekam. This means I am without the three Vedas, the Sajatiya Veda, which means there is no second consciousness principle, be it Andaja, Svedaja, Udvija, Jarayuja. Any living creature has one single consciousness principle. This is called Chetana Nisheda. Vijatiya Bheda means there is no matter principle other than consciousness. This is Achetana Nisheda. And Swagata Bheda means I am divisionlessness, Akhandam. As Brahman, I transcend all distinctions. I am Anantam, Nityam, Ekam. Yat Tat Brahmeti Avadharayet. This non-dual Brahman, which is revealed as none other than me in all the scriptures, is to be comprehended. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Anupama, for explaining this verse from Atma Bodha, which says that I am everything. There is one verse which we chant every time before we eat food. And Swamiji says that this great Maha Mantra has been reduced to a mealtime prayer. But why is been reduced to a mealtime prayer? Because every day, at least 3 times we have food. And when we have food each time, let us remember Brahmarpanam, Brahmahavi, Brahmagno, Brahmana, Brahmaiva Tena Gantavyam, Brahma Karma Samadhinaha. That means everything that I see and experience, including myself, is none other than Brahman in every direction, in every situation. The next 2 verses will be explained by Chetana. Chetana, please.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Verse 57 states, Atad Vyavritti Rupena, by the process of negating what is not, that is Neti Neti, Vedantai Lakshyate Avyayam, indicated in Vedanta as the indestructible substratum, Akhanda Anandam Ekam Yat, which is indivisible, blissful, and one, Tat Brahma iti avadharayet. Realize that to be Brahman. Now, Brahman is described as Anantam, Nityam, Ekam, Advayam. But whatever we experience happens to be just the opposite, impermanent, limited, and dual. So where do we get this knowledge from? What is the pramanam for such a Brahman? So here it says, Vedante Lakshyate, as indicated by Vedanta. It is the Vedanta which reveals that Brahman. It is the pramanam for us. We cannot use pratyaksham or science as they all function in the objective world. They can never reveal Brahman. Then the next question will be, if Vedanta reveals Brahman, then Vedanta will be the revealer and Brahman will be the revealed. So Pramata, Pramana, Prameya division will come into the picture. For this, Shankaracharya says, Vedanta does not reveal Brahman directly. Instead, it uses a negative method in which it negates everything. Neti, neti. So it goes on negating everything we know and experience. Once everything else is negated, only the negator, I, alone will remain as the unnegated. And this I is not an object of experience. Therefore, Brahman remains as I after negating everything else. That is what is meant by Atad Vyavritti Rupena. Here, Tad means Brahman. So by negating everything that is experienced, I is indirectly revealed as Brahman. We should remember that once Vedanta negates everything, then Vedanta also gets negated because that is also an object of experience. So now the Prameyam is gone, Pramanam is gone, and what is left is only I, the Pramata. But now this I cannot be called Pramata because I can be a Pramata only as long as Prameyam or Pramanam are there. So once Vedanta negates prameyam, the object of knowledge, and itself the pramanam, I, the pramatam, will be left out without any pramatritvam. For example, a teacher can be called a teacher only when there are students. Once the students are removed, the teacher status is also not there. Similarly, once Vedanta negates prameyam and pramanam, I, the pramata, without pramatritvam, am left out. And this is what is known as pramatritva nivritti. I am pure knowledge, awareness, Brahma, Aham, Asmi. This is what is called as Lakshana Vakyam or Neti Neti iti Nisheda Vakyam. Brihadaranyaka states, Athato Adesho Neti Neti na Hyat Asmad iti Neti Anyat Param Asti. And what is the nature of that Brahman? It is Akhanda Ananda Ekam, which is the non-dual and undivided Ananda, Purna Ananda. It is not Pratibimba Ananda obtained in Anandamaya Kosha, but it is Bimba Ananda, the original I. Tat Brahma iti avadharayet, and realize that to be Brahman. And tat, this Purna Ananda, Nirvikalpa Swarupam, alone is called Brahman, and it is this Brahman which the Jivan Mukta merges into. Now the next verse 58 states that Akhanda Ananda Rupasya, of the Brahman's unbroken infinite bliss, Tasya Ananda Lava Ashritaha, only a tiny portion of that bliss, Brahma Adaya Taratam Yena, is enjoyed by the creator Brahma and the other deities proportionately. Bhavanti Anandinaha Akilaha, who thereby become blissful with their share of that particle. So in the previous sloka, it was said that Brahman is Akhandam Ekam Anandam. So naturally, we would like to know how big is this Brahmananda? Just as a frog living all its life in a well cannot fathom the vastness of the ocean, similarly, we also cannot conceive that Brahmananda. So Shankaracharya links the second line of this verse to a well-known passage called Ananda Mimamsa in Taittiriya Upanishad, where the degree or the gradation of happiness is mentioned. Here he says, Brahma Adhaya Akilaha, all those gods like Brahmaji. Anandina Bhavanti, they become happy or fulfilled. How? Taratam Yena, in gradation according to the level of that deity. So according to this Taittiriya Upanishad, what is one unit of Ananda? Suppose there is a perfect human being who is well educated, moral, young, and healthy. What would be his Ananda? It is equated to one unit called Eka Manusha Ananda. Now, 100 units of this Manusha Ananda amounts to one Manusha Gandharva Ananda. And 100 units of Manusha Gandharva Ananda adds up to one Deva Gandharva. And so it goes on. Each succeeding one, a multiple of 100 of the previous one. So all these Anandas are included in this Brahmananda. Now, if you say all these Anandas are included in Brahmananda, one will start to add them up. So Upanishad says, Tasya Anandasya Lesha Leshataha. A small fraction of the fraction of that infinite Ananda alone is the total sum of all the Anandas mentioned earlier. So he says, gods like Brahma and other deities experience Ananda, but the bliss they experience is not Brahman or Purna Ananda. It is just a small fraction of Akhanda Ananda that they experience. Everybody, irrespective of how happy he is, will have a trace of dukkham. But this Brahma Ananda doesn't have even a trace of this dukkham. That is the essence. And what type of Ananda it is? It is Akhanda Ananda Rupasya Brahmana, Brahman, which is the nature of limitless Ananda. And what is the purpose here? The point of this text is to show that the Ananda that we experience is relative, limited, and graded. If Ananda we experience is just a fraction of Brahmananda, can you imagine what the level of Brahmananda would be? But when trying to imagine this Brahmananda, one should be very extremely careful, says Swamiji. We should not think that Brahmananda is going to be an extremely happy experience. Then that will make it very limited. So here the infinite Ananda is not in the form of an experience, but is in the form of understanding that this Ananda or Purnatvam is my Swarupam, my real nature. We need not go after Ananda. Understanding this is infinite Ananda. Understanding this is Purnatvam. Hari Om. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chetana, for explaining two important verses of Atma Bodha. The first verse says, how do you understand Vedanta? And this comes from the first fundamental principle of Vedanta, which says, I am other than whatever I experience. Let this be our sadhana. Mano buddhi ahankara chittani naham. Whatever I see, go on negating. I am not this, I am not this. This is what is called the neti method. And through the process of neti method, you arrive at yourself, the negator. And when you arrive at the negator, you will realize the negator you is not just an ordinary you, but it is that limitless you. And once you understand you are limitless, then you understand what is the meaning of this word Purnatvam. Why at every class, at the end of every meeting, we say Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate, going on repeating I am Purna, with the hope that you understand that I am limitless. Any limitation produces dukkha. But when you realize I am limitless, the word we need to understand that Ananda actually means Anantatvam. And when you understand Anantatvam, then you realize I have no limitations whatsoever. But can be very clear by what do you mean by I am not this body. The experiencer me, I am limitless. That is why we always have to say I am Sat Chit Ananta. I am limitlessly conscious, limitlessly existence. I am, we all know. But I am limitless, we need to know with emphasis. The last verse today will be explained by Smita Pai. Smita, please.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. The verse 59 goes like this. Tadyuktam akilam vastu vyavaharas chidanvitaha tasmat sarvagatam brahma kshire sarpi rivakile. All objects, the meaning is all objects are pervaded by Brahman. All actions are possible because of Brahman. Therefore, Brahman permeates everything as butter permeates milk. Here, Sri Shankaracharya says that all the people, jnanis or ajnanis, are all the time in Brahman alone. They are all the time seeing Brahman alone and they are all the time handling Brahman. Then, what is the difference between a jnani and an ajnani? Ajnani doesn't know this, but Ajnani knows this. Imagine when a person is handling a pot, seeing a pot, and if he is asked what he was handling, he would say that he was handling a pot. But the wise man will tell him that there is no such thing called pot at all. Pot is a word or a form that is there. What actually is saying and handling is only clay. So he was all the time handling clay, thinking that it was pot. Now suppose this person closes his eyes for realizing the clay. He says, I have experienced the pot plenty of times. What I have not experienced is only clay. And they say clay is a satyam and clay is a pot karanam, etc. And he goes into nirvikalpa samadhi for clay realization. So, why should one go at all in search of clay by closing the eyes when all the time he was handling the clay alone? Similarly, people are trying to realize Brahman somewhere all the time. The sat of the pot is clay, the very satta of the pot is clay. Similarly, whatever is there in the world is nothing but Brahman. Namarupa belongs to the Anatma world. Asti Bhati and Priyam, otherwise called Ananda, belongs to Brahman. Namarupasya adishtan bhuta satta. It is nothing but Brahman alone. A verse from Dakshinamurti Stotram goes like this. Yasyaiva spuranam sadatmakam sata kalpartakam bhasate. The Brahman, which is existent awareness absolute, alone pervades all the objects of the world, making them shine, or in other words, making them evident, and imparting its own reality to them, which are themselves unreal. In every Namarupa, when we say is, that is nothing but Brahman. And when we say I am, that is nothing but the Sat Brahman, and it includes Chit also. Outside, we experience Sat Brahman, and in our Antakarana, we experience Sat as well as Chit. And whenever we are happy, we are experiencing Sat, Chit, and Ananda. Therefore, the world has Sat Amsham of Brahman. Ajnanis have Sat and Chit Amsham, and Jnanis have Sat, Chit, and Anandam Amsham. Sat, Chit, Ananda are there all the time in the world. Therefore, he says, Akilam Vastu Tadyuktam, that is, every object in the creation, Tad Brahman, Tad Yuktam is associated as if Adhishtanam. Just as pot is Tad Yuktam with clay, just as every pot is associated with clay, everything is associated with Brahman only. Similarly, Vyavahara Tadanvitaha, all our transactions are with Brahman only. Just as whether we handle the plate or a jug or pot, all are vyavahara with clay alone. That is why we say Brahmarpanam, Brahmahavihi, Brahmagnau, Brahmanahutam. Brahmani eva sarve vyavaharaha adhyastaha. Natu vyavaharikaha. So for the question, where is Brahman? Pujya Swamiji says, Yatra yatra muno yati, tatra tatra samadayah. This is from Drigdishya Viveka. He says, for a jnani, wherever the mind goes, there he sees Brahman. Therefore, tasmat sarvagatam Brahma. Now the example, Kshirehe sarpiha iva. Sarpihi means ghee, just as ghee is in the milk, where and in which part? Sarvagatam, everywhere. Can you see it? No. So, can you say it? It's not there. No. So, even though you don't see it, it is very much there. Similarly, here also, it is very much there. But by proper operation, we can take the Kaivalya Navanitam. Similarly, here also, by proper sadhana, through recognition, Brahman can be realized. And how? We have already seen in the verse, Arni Mathanam, Atmarano Dhyana Matane Satatam Krite. There it is original Mathanam for Kaivalya Grahanam. Here it is Jnana Matanam. That is the only difference. So Akile Kshire Sarpihi Iva. Now the question is, should these verses be taken as a Brahma Surupam or the Jivan Mukta vision? We can take it in both ways. It is this Brahman that Jivan Mukta merges into, or Jivan Mukta is aware all the time in and through all of them that Brahman alone is. So Jivan Mukta is aware that Akilam Vastu Brahma Yuktam, or you can say that Jivan Mukta merges into such a Brahman at the time of Videha Mukti. Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Smitaji, for a nice explanation of another very beautiful Atma Bodha verse. Let us go back to the Bhagavad Gita, the second Shatkam, starting from the 7th chapter, when Sri Krishna wants us to be able to see everything in this universe that I see and experience as none other than Sri Krishna himself. And Sri Krishna gives us this verse. Mai sarvam idam protam sutre manigana eva. Just like you do not see the thread in between the beads and which is holding everything together, I pervade this whole universe in an invisible manner. And the words used are, I am immanent and transcendental. Now, when we come to Atma Bodha or Vedanta, we have to say I pervade this whole world in an invisible manner. This whole world is my own creation, just like the whole dream world is my own creation. Everything in this world, material, conscious, human beings, animal, are none other than me. That is Atma Pammena Sarvatra. I'm able to see every object, every person. The ability to see yourself in everything and everything in yourself is what Vedanta is. That is why we have difficulty in giving examples, but in a certain stage we begin to understand that I am all. I pervade everything. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.
Our pranams to all our gurus and the Guru Parampara. Thank you, Dr. Hegde. And our gratitude to each and every speaker of the day. Unlimited Ananda is my real nature. We do not need to go run after it. This needs to be understood. Param Vedanta thanks its listeners. We meet again on Monday, 17th of 17th of March. Param Vedanta brings the next gift session. We begin with the 13th chapter, verse by verse. Kshetra, Kshetrajna, Vibhaga Yoga. Let us conclude. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.